Hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here, and welcome to the Anime Hour, and it is the Crunchy Awards. Usually, we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime and then come back here to talk about it. But today, we're going to take a look back at all of pretty much 2024 and all of the anime that we've watched in season 2 of the show and give out some awards to some of the ones that we think are notable, not just on our scale that we normally do, where we do animation, storytelling, and vibes, just some other ones that kind of just hit us in a different way. And we're going to talk about all the awards we're giving out, but I don't go on these anime journeys alone. I go with my co-host, Matt Galley. Matt, we've been doing this for like 2 years now. It's
Just
crazy.
over 2 years. It's
Man,
crazy.
crazy.
We have now accumulated such a vast catalog of varied and unique shows that we have watched over the course of these past 2 seasons now. And it's just I've said it a few times before, but it really is just crazy to think about, like what type of anime I had under my belt before we got this started. It was just very much a lot of the same things. Like I would, I like this one thing that I watched
Sure.
this one time and I just want more of that. So just where are the shows that are just like this same thing? But once
Yeah.
you start to allow yourself to just expand into more genres and really experience all these different types of stories this medium has to offer, it's just really crazy the type of the type of reflection you can get out of it.
Yeah, because I mean, specifically talking about some of the anime that we've seen in season 2, and here are all the nominees for the anime we've seen in season 2, all the ones that we watched that we're going to touch on a little bit here. It's really interesting that one, they are also varied, like you're saying, especially this season, and then all the anime that we've seen last season, but they all, some of them, most of them have some sort of connecting factor to each other, which is really cool. It's talking about the same themes, about what it feels like to be you, what it feels like to be a person that is in this world coexisting with somebody else, the ideas of loss, the idea of found family. There's so many themes that are just very similar that were found in such varied media ways to showcase those emotions, to bring you out, to bring you into a story or get something out of you emotionally. Like there's so many varied stories and varied ways of telling sort of a similar story with similar themes. So it's been really cool, especially this week as we're thinking back, because I was listing all of the anime that we've seen. I'm like, oh my god, there's so many. We've seen so many anime. Like this list, putting this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Just to look at all the anime we've gotten
When
to
you stack
in
it all up on the table, it's like, man, where do we even start?
where to even start, really. But today we are going to start with um our first. Well, we went back. I looked back, and we looked back at last year's. We only gave like away 4 or 5 crunchy because it was our first time doing it. And we were like, okay, whatever, let's try this thing. And it was really cool. So we're gonna do it again. And now we have a lot more awards that we're gonna give it out to the anime that we see. We're gonna talk about it a little bit. The first award here for the crunchies is for most engaging story. So when I thought about engaging story, I was thinking about something that hit me in a certain way, that encompasses as well characters that were really interesting, and there was a lot to think about with
Mhm.
all of these. I'm going to keep putting them up here because I want people to look at which ones we've seen and what are in the running, but there was just so much that you can pull from, and there was multiple that could have been uh voted, I guess, as most engaging story, because a lot of these were very engaging with the main characters, the themes, and it was really hard. What do you think of when you think of most engaging story?
Immediately, it's like something that can like reel me in, not only reel me in, but keep me reeled in, keep my sense of attention drawn and honed in on what are the answers. Like what is this show presenting to me? What does the show want me to feel? And is it doing that in a way that I get along with? Because there, like you were saying, a lot of the shows had good stories. They have engaging storytelling, and they each kind of use the medium of anime in their own way to tell the stories. Especially looking at all the different types of genres we kind of went through this season. We had things from drama to comedy to action, action adventure, even a little bit of like just pseudo horror elements in some of them, like just a lot of stuff going on. And it was difficult for me in a sense of, yes, when I put the term most in front of it, most engaging story, that's where I get led into it really has to reel me in from the start, and from start to finish I got to feel like satisfied and bought in the whole time. But for me, that's what an engaging story is going to do. It's going to reel you in, and it's going to keep you reeled in, and there's never going to be a moment where you're just kind of like, oh, that episode was kind of eh.
Yeah.
The story from the start of an episode to the finish of an episode, I'm always thinking, what just changed? What is new information? What is information that I care about? And if it's not, if I finish an episode and I'm kind of just like, what just happened? I'm not engaged. So the inverse of that would be at the end of every episode, it's just like, what happens next?
Yeah, definitely. Keeps you going, keeps you wanting more. And that leads me to the winner of all the anime for the season 2, the most engaging story. The winner is Erased. Erased was just didn't stop. It wasn't like, for me, the action was there and it wasn't like fighting action or anything, but the action within the context of the story was there, but it felt uneasy. It was consistently just at poking me there. I'm like, what's happening? How are we?
Consistently, just steaks were sizzling on the grill with this one.
Steaks were steaking there on the grill, and I just really loved that anime. And like you're saying before, once you're at the end, it's like it feels like complete. Like it feels like most of my questions were answered. I don't think I did have any other questions outside of that, the things that they answered or anything. Like it was all there. It tied it up in a great, beautiful little bow. And I'm like, wow, that was an experience. I think most engaging story, you come out of it. And I'm also rewatching Severance because Severance season 2 is coming out tomorrow. So I'm reliving that show. That's another show where I'm just like, wow. Well, Severance had a lot more questions towards the end. Erased, it just felt like an experience. Like I experienced this, it washed over me. That's kind of how I feel when I watch an anime like this one. And it just felt like at the end, I just had to sit there and just let it like wash over me, take a breath, and take a day of in some moments of silence. Cause it was like, wow, that was an experience. And I think I'm better for that. So I think most engaging story would be Erased for me, for sure.
I just remember like constantly having a need for questions to be answered. And every single time the show throws you like a bone, it also is like dangling a carrot in a different direction as a
Mhm.
red herring. And I just remember feeling like they misdirected me in the best kind of way. Like I
Yeah.
thought things were going one way, but I was like, but what about, what about, what about? And I constantly, my brain was being boggled by what are the answers? And by the time I got all the answers, it just felt so satisfying, especially again with the amount of stakes that were on the grill with this one. I
Yeah.
really have to like push that because it was this whole story about being able to use the smallest amount of details to try to save somebody else's life. I don't really know like
And
how we
how
could
do you
have
do that?
made it more intense.
How do you do that? Like where we saw him go through it and try to figure it out. And it's like, oh, you feel for him in so many moments and you feel for the characters. Cosmo said here, I nominate Tree to Face as funniest anime scene. We didn't have funniest anime scene, but we do have a comedic award very soon. But hello, Cosmo, and hello, everybody watching live, or if you're watching later on or on Spotify or something. But um, man, I really enjoyed that anime. I think if someone's looking for a story that's going to hit them hard, and you feel a little different, or maybe you look
Yeah.
at yourself or the world or life differently after, the Erase would
You
be
just
it.
walk away with the show taking a piece of you and giving you a piece of something.
It's so good. Next anime award here, best art direction. And I want everybody looking to see what here you would think of best art direction. But best art direction, man, there was some really good art, like
Mhm.
stylized stuff in a lot of anime. While I wasn't completely on board for some of what Shine On Bakumatsu Bad Boys did, it was like
Oh,
interesting. It was like,
it
okay, you're
was
doing that.
interesting when I realized like it was going for the whole paper, paper to
Yeah.
life aesthetic, jumping off the page or whatever. So that's where I could say that it did have somewhat good art direction. And that's but like obviously we talked about it. The animation with that one specifically was just not up to snuff where the art direction had to be and wanted it to be.
And
So that one ended up falling flat, even though it had good art direction. Because when we speak about art direction, we're not necessarily talking about like what is the highest graphical fidelity that was achieved, what's the most realistic. Like, that's not what we're looking at when we look for art direction. We're looking for something that has a very distinct and unique look and flow. And when we talk about something with having the best art direction, in my opinion, it's something that pushes the boundaries of the medium into spaces that it might not have been in before.
Yeah, I think I thought about it that way too as well, because anime like that we've seen, like Death Parade or Kisniver, while they were all really good and really pleasant to look at, and I really enjoyed their look, I think the one that we picked for number one is doing what you're saying, pushing it to the next level, seeing how far the animation medium can go. Um, there are a few other ones. I mean, even with Bartender Glass of God, while there wasn't a whole lot going on, it was a good looking anime, and the art was beautiful for what little they needed to do really to get
Yes.
the story across. It still looked good.
But when you look at like stills of all of those shows back to back to back, you can almost come to a conclusion that they may have all been drawn by the same person
Mhm.
under a similar like budgetary constraint or under the guise of we want it to look like what people already are familiar with. The
Mhm.
show that we ended up picking to give this award to is like the twisted end of that, where it's like we are making something that doesn't look like other things, and we want to emphasize that, and that's going to be the soul of this show almost.
So the winner for best art direction for Crunchyroll's season, or Crunchy Award season 2, is Trigun Stampede, bro. Oh my goodness. This is probably the one that came out the most recent, I think
Hmm.
I saw. And it really showed. I mean, in the way that like the color palettes were really cool. The characters' flowing hair. I remember the sand, they're in like a really sandy place, windy place. The way that the clothes moved, the colors were just beautiful. It was just a step above all of the others, I think.
Hmm.
And it's just like, wow, this is really cool to look at. And it's just the idea of we're going to do it this specific way. It is not what you're used to. It's not what classic anime would you would say, like, oh, if someone wants to see an anime, oh, this is dated. Like this is from the 90s, 2000s. Okay, this is
Hmm.
what anime looked like at that time. But like
Which,
this look.
the difference gets even greatly showcased when
Mhm.
you're reminded that this is a spiritual like successor slash like
Yeah.
retelling of one of the most popular anime out of the 90s that has
Mhm.
that very distinct art style that carried through the 2000s and into the 2010s, and even now with shows that we still have coming out into the 2020s. There's a very distinct line that has been drawn where people want to stay in their safe spaces because they can rely on techniques and uh, other examples of other things in order to make it as appeal to as many people as possible because they know they're doing what's been done and been done well. But in this case, they're like, let's take a chance, and it might not work out. This might not work out for us, but we're going to take a chance and do something that that other people are scared to do. And that's what makes this show, aside from the good story that it tells, the great characters, just the art style and the art direction alone is what makes this show worth watching.
I think it's one of the most fun to think about as far as like awards to give out, because the art direction really changes the story, like changes the way that you engage with the story. And I think, if I remember correctly, last time it was Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, and these two up together, that while they're bringing something completely different, but also giving us a really good story, it just immerses you so much more when the art is just so different and interesting. And they really took chances on Trigun Stampede, so I really appreciate it, and it makes you like actually pay attention. Like, it helps the story along by you paying attention and wanting to see what comes next and see the next movement, or notice something in a character, as there's maybe like a still shot and it's like, whoa, his hair's moving a little bit, or his little coat's flapping a little bit. It's
The
like,
little
wow,
things. The
it's
little
really
things.
great. So Trigun Stampede is the winner of our best art direction for season 2. Next one, I think uh, one of the more hard ones to pick, because there were so many, and I really wanted to add this because of the anime we watched this season. But it's best ensemble cast. When I'm thinking of best ensemble cast, and here are all the anime that we've seen this year, so it will be one of these. There are so many shows that
Yeah.
we watch, an abundance of shows here, where it is one of the themes is something like found family, where the main character has to maybe be held up or emotionally attached to new characters or new people that they meet, or they are a part of a group. I mean, there's so many groups in these anime. It
Mm-hmm.
was really insane to think of like which ones were my favorite. I mean, they even groups from the three boys of Saran Zanmai
Mm-hmm.
to the entire group of Kisniver. Like, there's so
Yes.
many that are there. And
But
Mashal
like,
with
yeah,
the three.
yes. When we, the core three of the anime trio has been a staple for almost as long as, anime and shonen style
Really?
storytelling
I didn't
themselves.
notice. Yeah.
Yeah, just but like you're saying, with ensemble cast, it also goes into like the supporting characters outside of the main trio. So with like
Mhm.
Sarazan Mai, the flamboyant cops were just such a interesting play off of the core trio.
Yeah.
In Kisniver, like you said, the group was so big and so dynamic that there's just so much going on with the interpersonal conflict and the fact that they were all connected to each other emotionally. And then, you also had like Bungo Stray Dogs, which has this whole department of detectives, and they each have their own little thing. I really think the show that we picked has that, like you said, it has that core trio that you just love to see, but it handles their dynamic and their relationships in an interesting way that keeps you guessing throughout the run of the show that we watched so far. But also just the amount of distinct and interesting side characters that might not have even gotten the most amount of characterization through dialogue, but because of the way the show operates, we were able to get so much out of the supporting characters just through animation and action and movement.
It was really good. Another one, Tower of God. Bo Fury has a larger group that we didn't probably would have gotten a lot more if we continued watching, but I feel like Bo Fury still had a lot to give there in ensemble, at least.
And even we talked about it, even with the Bakumatsu Bad Boys,
Bad
like
Boys.
that one had a lot of potential on the table with what
It
it was
did.
trying to do. Like like you create all these unique characters, and whatever the show is operating with, give them the one thing that makes them distinct and make that thing tie into their personality, and I am sold. Just give me a whole cast of eclectic, flamboyant characters, whatever you want to call them. Just make them all different, make them unique, and make them fun to watch on screen.
And I would say,
Because
yeah, Bakumatsu Bad Boys did it really well. I mean, as far as
with
an
the setup.
ensemble, just looking at an ensemble of characters and seeing how they evolve or seeing how they get characterized, like you're saying, like give us the one thing. And I think Kisnivers did too. Kisniver gave us give us that one thing we can latch onto. Okay, this is this type. Let's continue with the story. Okay, this is this type. Let's keep going. Easy. Boom, boom, boom. They do it so well, and we've had so many ensembles, but only one could win Best Ensemble Cast for the Crunchies. And the winner is the God of High School. The winner of Best Ensemble Cast is the God of High School. Man, dude, I love all of these characters. All of the God of High School characters are so much fun. Like you were saying, with the core trio, they challenged each other, their relationships change. And I just want to see these three take on the world. And it goes to show like how in such a short amount of time I was rooting for them all the way. Like even though we only watched 12 episodes of the show or 12 episodes of all the shows, I can really start feeling for some. And
Mhm.
like during all these animes, I do feel a lot for these characters. But I think this trio, not only the trio, but all of the other cast of characters that we got, man, they were
We
so
got so
cool.
many characters.
There was so many fighters there. It was just so much fun. The story was great, and I loved every single character that they kept showing. They brought up new baddies, they brought up new possible good characters or whatever, and it was just a really good time. So
And then there's also the God of High School tournament people, like all of the people in the suits. They were
Mhm.
all not there for super long amounts of time, but
No.
they sure as heck got characterized.
Yeah, and it was just so quick, and we knew the assignment. They knew the assignment. Okay, this guy's this sort of character. This guy's a bad person. It's just really good. I love all these characters. I don't know if entirely love the whole story and how it ended specifically, but like them as a cast of characters, there was not one miss there. So the God of High School, best ensemble cast, love it. Um, Best protagonist in the anime. We got a lot of protagonists
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Main character, person that we follow, possibly in some of these, we get into their head, we know what they're thinking. We see the world in their perspective. We go through their trials and tribulations here, and there is one that is going to win here. A lot of the anime, as I reflected on all the anime, I really liked the ensemble cast. And when I try to divide the ensemble cast away to pick a protagonist that I like, I didn't like a whole lot of protagonists this season. Like thinking back.
Not when you put them on their own. That's
No.
just that is the inherent difficulty of having, after just talking about our ensemble cast, the difficulty of having that core trio and having that core trio be so strong is that in times it can be that when you start to pull away from that trio, holes begin to show. That's not always the case, obviously, but I do feel as though with this season, we have a lot of very strong groups of characters, but there's very few characters that stand up on their own in a vacuum when you just analyze them separately away from everyone.
Like I'm looking for my Gokus. I'm looking for my Denji.
I'm
Like,
looking for my Avatar the Last. I'm looking for Aang, man.
yeah,
Looking for Aang.
okay. Aang. Like when I look at a main protagonist that stands up and somebody that I'm down to watch just them doing a thing, a lot of the time I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I thought about Mashal, Magic and
Mhm.
Muscles. Mashal we talked about. They have a great ensemble as well. Keep going back to that. because that's what it is. It was an ensemble, but Mash on his own is just not a whole lot. And a lot of it and a lot of the
A lot of cream
fun,
puffs.
it's just a lot of cream puffs when you get down to it, man. I don't know if I can award a bunch of cream puffs the award. Um, it's all about how they interact with
Exactly.
him
And
or
that's how
how
I
he
felt
gets.
too with I wrestled a little bit with Death Parade and the main I'm forgetting his name, but the bartender there.
Mhm.
And it's like it's not really his character that makes him great in that story. It's more the position that he's put in and interacting with all of these special recently dead
Yeah.
cases of people.
Mhm.
Um and then I, then I hopped down to bartender and I'm like, the main bartender is really great, but again, it's like it's
It's
more
not.
about his interactions with the people that he's interacting with. That's really bringing him and a lot of these characters up. But I feel like the protagonist that we settled on is one that is wholly unique in how he operates within his story. And I feel like
Yeah.
somebody that you rip him out of the story and put him in any of these other animes, and something interesting is going to happen. Is a
Yeah.
like another thing about him is that a lot of these characters, as we talked about, are very defined by their power, and we meet them at their the god of high school. They're all fighters, and their fighting styles define them. But the character that we settled on, I feel as though he's very defined before he even gets the power for the show that's going to be
Mhm.
happening. And then once he does get it, it is only because of the person that he is that he's able to operate with so much success, because there are so many limiting factors.
Mhm. Definitely. Um, Even like in Trigun Stampede, like Vash is a cool character. He's fine, but he is a little ditzy, a little
Mhm.
like just kind of going flying by the seat of his pants, and he's not direct in a main character that I want to give this award to. Like he's not the directness, he's not the whole package. I don't think there wasn't a whole lot of whole packages in the anime that we've seen. There's some skewed in certain ways, but as a full complete main character, I couldn't think of anybody else. So best protagonist for this season is Lelouch V. Britannia from Code Geass. This boy was so cool. He was just cool. He just
He is arguably,
he is him.
if you watch the entire series, you could argue that he's a anti-hero. He's whatever, but we are watching this story unfold from his perspective, child to teen to uh tyrant, if that's what you want to end up calling him. But he is a product of his environment as the show displays him growing older, and it is only because of the trials and tribulations that he undergoes that this story is able to operate. A lot of the other stories, there's our main character, our main protagonist, just isn't very defined by the entirety of the world around them. They impose themselves on the world, but in Lelouch's case, the world completely imposes itself on him before he gets the one tool, the Gios, in order to turn the tables and then push outward.
Mhm.
Which just makes for a very interesting dynamic with him in the story that we don't necessarily get so much out of many stories, because again, usually we want the art to feel like our protagonist is imposing themselves on the world, because usually in a lot of cases, our protagonists are self-inserts.
Yeah.
We want to see ourselves in them, and we want them to be winning and to never lose. But we see Lelouch make mistakes, learn from his mistakes, and sometimes have to bear the consequences of his actions.
I think that's a key difference with Lelouch that I didn't think about, where most of these guys in the shows that we watch are uh, just for you to put yourself in it. I mean, not so much just the whole idea of an isekai. There's a lot of other anime here where the main character is just a shell of some emotions here, something driven here, but still just for the audience to be in and observe the world around them. But with
because we have to
Lelouch
learn about the world through the
first.
main character. And usually, in order for exposition to make sense, we can't let the character know about everything before the story starts.
You just woke up and you forgot everything? You have amnesia? Let me explain everything to you real quick.
Which is
Uh
where the side characters come in and the
yeah.
rest of the cast come in to teach our main character about these things. But Lelouch is a case where we don't have, he doesn't get his handheld. He doesn't get that luxury because again, the whole world has been imposing itself on him ever since he was a child.
I think he's one of the, if not the most complete character at start. I would say maybe Vash a little bit from Trigun. The bartender, but I don't know if I can say he was the best. Uh but yeah, one of the most complete at the start where we know what this guy's doing. We get information about where he's been, and let's go. Let's go on his motivational journey, on his journey through his life. And now he's got this thing, but like you're saying, he's already had that in him. He's already had the drive, the reason before he gets his thing. So now let's keep going. Let's go. Okay, cool. I'm down to go on your adventure. Like that's one of the only ones where it's like this is his adventure and I'm just living in it and I'm just watching it.
Yes,
It's crazy.
exactly.
This was an interesting one because we listen a lot to the voice acting. So
Hmm.
this Crunchy Award is called Most Compelling Voice Acting, mainly Japanese. And we've had some really good voice acting. I don't know if I can say one anime where it's like, "Ooh, that was really bad." Like
Hmm.
it never stuck out. And that's kind of what you want, right? Whenever you notice it, it's either because it's really good or it's really bad. A lot of them were good. A lot
Good.
of them were just like, "This is good acting. This is
Hmm.
great." Sound design was really good. I notated some animes where they do something really cool, something really different, where it brings you in to the space with them. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I noticed that. That's for a good reason. So this one is most compelling voice acting in an anime. When you think about giving an award, this award,
Hmm.
anime, what pushes it over the top above the rest?
That's a very good question. For me, I guess it would be along the lines of, feeling like a character is dynamic, feeling like a character is exactly that and not a caricature, where it's just like this is their tone of speaking consistently. They don't really have fluctuations of emotion. So like it also kind of goes hand in hand with a story that has more emotional weight and impact in it versus something that doesn't. Inherently, you're gonna be able to notice the more nuance out of it, but it's definitely like you have a character that just through their tone of voice, like you can imagine what they look like on screen. Are
Mhm.
they happy? Are they sad? Are they angry? Are they upset? Are they feeling like overwhelmed? The what is their vibe at any given moment? And I feel like and it's like it's so easy to not think about it, but every single line of dialogue should be carrying some sort of emotional impact from what is that character feeling at that moment.
And to go along with that, you want them to feel like the character when when they're speaking. I want to hear that emotion, but I don't want to hear any restriction on it. I don't want to hear like the person's in the booth and they're like, okay, I have to, I don't know, go talk to my friends for an hour after this, after I record this, and I got to save my voice and I got to do this. No, if the emotion and if the show needs this, give it everything. And I
Mhm.
feel like the anime we picked is the voice actors giving it everything, giving
Mhm.
them to the character, giving them to the story. Um, so the
'Cause
most, yeah.
sorry, I just wanted to add because like there are times where we're watching, we switch back and forth and we go to the English voice acting, and it's like, when we say the voice acting is bad, it's like it's hard for me to put those words out there because I know somebody spent their time and their effort in recording something, but you can sometimes just tell when the performance is being phoned in. And since like I'm a native English speaker, you're a native English speaker, neither of us speak Japanese. um when we do that, I feel like going from the English voice acting to the Japanese voice acting, there is just generally more passion and more like weight that feels like it's coming through the dialogue, that's giving me that emotional state of that character.
Or even like when I hear the English voice for the first time and I don't have like a Japanese voice to base it off of, if I go in and I'm like, I'm going to watch it in English just because, whatever. And in my head, the voice that the voice actor chose is not how the person on screen, I think, in my head would sound. It does seem like it's bad, where it might be a good performance, but even that, like having the scrawny kid, I'm saying it hyperbole, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
scrawny kid just being like, "Hey, how's it going?" or
Yeah,
whatever, and it's like, doesn't really match.
the
That kind of takes
disconnect
you out of
there.
it.
Yes.
Yeah. So that can also lead to a bad voice acting anime where that something that little where it's like, well, that's not exactly how I think that guy would sound for some reason, but it's in our heads. um so an anime that we think did really well and wins the most compelling voice acting out of all the anime is once again Erased. Most compelling voice acting in this anime. Man, when things were going, it gave everything. That
Yeah.
adds to the whole experience, the whole story. They gave us everything in that booth.
Yes. When I immediately, when we write this award up, most compelling voice acting, and I'm looking, excuse me, and I'm looking over, all the nominees, and I see Erased, and the first thing that jumps into my head, bro, is mom character being mom and mom character being mom. Like,
Mhm.
don't you dare put a hand on those kids type deal.
Woo!
Like, just that type of range is what I mean, where every single line should be conveying a character's emotional state, and through all of these different characters. And it can be a hard thing to do because, again, now you have a voice actor that's trying to portray a child with the emotional intelligence of an adult. And how do you convey that?
And yeah, and they
You
were
have to give it
subtly
a voice.
different. Yeah. Like I really do think all of it together. Like I constantly think about the music that I'm listening to in the shows. I'm constantly seeing like how does this add to it? How does this add to the experience, the whole package? And while I think music could make or break an anime, not really. I think voice acting certainly does. The voice acting in an anime can turn you off because that is what is consistent throughout the show. You see the character in different situations, but what stays true is the range of this person that gives it life, that gives the character that you're seeing life. And I really do think Erased was just above the rest. I think it was just enjoyable all around. And even though, like I said it earlier, not the most visually action packed anime, it's everything else that came together to make it this experience. So it was really great. Going on from best compelling voice acting, biggest tearjerker. So we've gotten a lot here. All the anime that we saw this year, a lot of action,
A lot of action.
some isekai,
Hmm.
some other genres, but we had some specific ones that were just sad, bro. They
Yup.
were just sad. They had moments of sadness, had moments where if you yourself hold empathy, you feel for the characters. It was a lot. Biggest tearjerker is literally the winner is literally me crying like during
Yep.
the show. Like there was a lot of
I
moments.
broke into tears multiple times at the one that we're about to give an award to. And like you were saying, like there are other ones where like I could feel myself like welling up, you know, you feel that rush of like fire and lightning through you when like there's just something that just connects to you in some way. Doesn't matter that this story doesn't take place in reality, completely disconnected. This particular message is hitting me because of something I've experienced, because of something that I feel, because of somebody that I know. And with this one, I feel like it just really, really dug that dagger in and just knew how to twist it and just make the pain feel real at times.
I mean, even anime like Bartender Glass of God,
Yes.
even anime like Death Parade,
Yes.
like
Is
these
neither.
Kisniver, like these anime, I like thinking and going into like a retrospective like thought after we watch it and like thinking about me or life or seeing how that pertains the message that they're trying to say, how it pertains to me, how like it's commentary on humans in general. Like I love that stuff. And like in some of those specific ones, like Death Parade, the idea is so interesting and we think about that as well. We think about that here in our lives. Bartender Glass of God, like even with that one, where it's like it's so relatable and I've been to a bar, but not even that. It's like I am just a human living with other humans trying to connect. And
And
this
that's what
is
that show was about, humanity and connections. That's exactly what that show was about.
and sometimes when it touches you in the right way, it just makes you cry. Like you just think about certain things. Like um I said it last time, thinking hurts, true. Thinking does hurt. But like even like I said last week, like I legit was like tearing up because of a wrestling match. And it's just these two people fighting when you think about it and when you know a story or the emotion on their face, it's like, oh, it hits you and all this stuff. So like these anime, a lot of them hit us a certain way. And it's so cool because not not two of us, not even just me or Matt, not two people are gonna feel the same way about certain scenes or the way a certain anime hits them. It's so subjective and it's just so maybe touches on something when you were a kid or makes you remind
Exactly.
you of a
Some
moment.
experience you have, some person you know, something where the connection is made, and all of a sudden you just feel flushed. You just feel that fire and lightning shooting through your veins where it's just like, ooh, that's like, you know, you get the chill, you get the rush, and it just hits different.
And I gotta say, there was no other anime but this one. So best is To Your Eternity. Bro, why did they have to do us like this? Why I did not know. I didn't know anything about it. And I thought we were just gonna go for a fun little time. We're gonna have just great little joy. Okay, really cool premise at the start. And just
Nope, it's a show literally about what does it mean to be human.
and it sucks. It sucks. I'm sorry. Being a human
What
sucks.
is humanity? What does it mean to exist in this world? What does it mean to be somebody that lives through experiences that teaches them things that you could just never learn in a classroom. What does it all mean?
It was just so good, coupled with literally just some of the characters dying. Like that heavy topic, just heavy, like, what does it mean? Plus us, me specifically, and I know you had said you were too, like, our my defenses were down, and I thought the first death, okay, we're good, right? And it keeps going. I'm like, is this what this is? Is this what we're doing here? I just wanted to like little characters, like them going on little adventures. And I know we're all gonna die eventually, but like, do I have to watch these new people that I just met die? And then having to, okay, next episode, let's keep watching. Nah, man, that hurt.
Hooray! Ha 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 again.
Yeah. Why did it have to go so hard? It was just so sad. Why? It didn't need to. But it won biggest tearjerker. We got to get going. We have 15 more minutes.
That's also the one that gave us the log on the face.
Yeah, it did. Log on face. Coming away from biggest tearjerker, we have most comedic anime. There was so many funnies here. So many little funny guys. A lot of little funny dudes. I mean, right off the bat, Sauron Zanmai, little guys turning into frogs. Fuck it, gold. We love it, you know? So many funny moments. I thought Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon was funny. Bungo Stray
Is It
Dogs
Wrong was very funny. Bungo Stray Dogs was very funny. We
Mashal.
had Mashal, we had Comey, which had its moments, you know. It wasn't the strongest start to finish, but I can't say it did not make me laugh. It made me laugh pretty hard sometimes.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the most consistently laughing. So had a lot of good funnies, had some sads, had some funnies, but only one funny can win the award. And I think the one that I do believe that this is probably going to be the most subjective award that we give out here today. So take it with a grain of salt. The one that we do pick, I feel like it's a personal, the personal preference of the Academy and what the Academy enjoys and makes laugh. And I'm just a sucker for referential gaming humor. I don't know, man.
I mean, yeah, I even thought like Shine On Bakumatsu Bad Boys was kind of funny too, a little bit. I think this was the hardest one not to give to Mashal, but I think there was just not enough for me in Mashal to like fully just commit to it. Bungo Stray Dogs, I think, was not funny enough. It was good for some
It had
chuckles,
funny
but
moments, but it had that heavy dose of action adventure to play off of its comedy. So it just didn't have the most time to be comedic. But man, the one we picked, I felt like it's just one of those ones where every single time a joke is set up and lands, whether or not you think it's funny, it's already setting up for the next joke. So you might not even notice that it just made a joke.
And the winner for most comedic anime is Bo Fury. I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max on my defense. Most comedic. I debated on making all of that just like really small at the bottom. I love this little crew. They are just so funny.
Yes.
It's just she's just so cute and it's just so silly and it's just the silliest little anime. I wouldn't continue
itself seriously at all.
It does not take itself seriously. I would not continue because I don't want to see her get like super insane buff and like I don't think that's fun. Like just seeing her. Well, yeah. I don't want to see her get even more.
Riding on a flying turtle.
Yeah, she got the flying turtle. But I don't want to see her just continue to get so many more add-ons or whatever. But for the time we did watch it, it was super funny. And then Thorn Rose, Kayla, hello. I agree with this one. So Bo Fury was really funny, really silly. All the stuff that he did, I was like, sure, why not? And it got a laugh out of me. So what do you think about Bo Fury?
I definitely had my guard up with this one. You know, the the name alone, we've talked about it before. All these long names that are entire sentences always kind of like throw me for a loop. Um, and the one that I picked last season that had a long name, I thought we were doing it for the funnies, and it just ended up being a total flop. Hated it. Didn't hate it, but it wasn't great. But this one just pleasantly surprised me. It showcased that, they have a solid grounding on, all of these kind of MMO gaming tropes, the whole VR full dive experience, and it just jabs and pokes fun. It doesn't want to be this hardcore, super sick, edgy, like, type deal like a lot of them want to be.
Yeah.
But this one instead, it was just like, hey, here's a very fun fantasy world with some fun characters that get along really well with each other, and they're just while everybody around them is going to be being kind of like serious, they are just going to be the most backwards focused like group of people. You got the maple with high defense, and then you had the hammer gals with the no defense and maxing their attack. And it's just like, what's going on, man?
And
How
a
is this a functional guild? But they end
flying
up
Mount
being
Turtle.
like one of the top 3 guilds in the server. So
Fuck it. If you aren't gonna make any sense, I don't care. I'm gonna be laughing and be a silly little guy too. Hell, whatever. Let's do it. So, Bo Fury, most comedic anime, really funny. Really hard though because of Mashal specifically. I really do want to say honorable mention to Mashal because it did tickle me in the funny bones. But Bo Fury is just a silly good time. This one is fun. I thought this would be a good again, because of the anime we got, I don't think next time we do the Crunchy Awards, they're going to be the same awards. It's mainly just because of the anime we picked. So this
this is
next
a
award,
context specific award.
context specific, as well as like the ensemble cast, because we got a lot of ensembles. This one, the I was reincarnated into another world award. So a lot of these anime were some type of isekai, some type of fish out of water story. And it's like, well, what are we going to do but give one of them an award? So I think when I think about this, I didn't give Matt any context about how to view this award or how to think about it. But I think one is the world that I would want to go to myself. One
That
that was the most
immediately, like, that's what that award is.
the world that I would want to go to and be a part of, or if I was isekai'd, this is the one that I want. Um, or VR full dive, or however,
Sure,
whatever.
sure.
I died and I was resurrected or whatever. A lot of these were a little scary. A lot of these places were fun, but not as fleshed out or not as thought of as the one I think we picked. And it was
Right.
really good and really easy to pick. Out of all the ones that we um, watched, and they were isekai
Yeah.
esque, sort of.
And a lot of them, a lot of these worlds, like, function on these different types of rules and systems that the show kind of like presents and helps to get you involved and kind of like understand how the world works. But I think that the one that we picked definitely did the best job of like, here's how this world operates, and this is why people would want to be here. Because in the context of the one our selection specifically, it is more of like, the full dive esque type deal, but it's a case where I can definitely see myself in that world that the show's presenting, playing this full dive experience. This is where I would want to be. I'd want to be spending my time doing this, just like in our world, we have so many things that are vying for our time and our attention. And sometimes you watch these types of shows and you're like, why are they even there? This doesn't seem fun. This doesn't seem
Yeah.
why would they even want to be there? But in this case, it's like I I'm bought in. I'm bought in.
Mhm.
Anybody else like let's go buy a machine. What's going on? So I do agree that this is a very context specific award for the types of shows that we were watching. but I was very pleasantly surprised to see you bring this up in our awards this year.
The I was reincarnated into another world award goes to, coming in right at the end, Shangri-La Frontier. We praised it a bunch when we watched it not too long ago, not many weeks ago. But man, this place is just so evolved and so explained. Like, I'm so down to just be a boy with a bird head and just level up and do my own thing. Like, this was just some great world building here. I really enjoyed the world. And while how believable it is that there's a VR dive, we've seen crazier. But this game is somewhere, like you said, I just want to be a part of it. I want to be in it.
I can see why our main character would, get sucked in and never want to pick up another game ever again, even though he does a few times over the course of the show. But, it's just it's convincing, and it knows that it's bombastic, and it just shoves all of that world building right in your face, where it's like, this is why people play this game. This is why this is the number one game. This is why this is the number one game. And it's just so very much wearing its inspirations on the sleeve at the same time that it's trying to push it further and like evolve concepts and make them interesting and contemporary for the audience.
It was really fun. I really enjoyed that world. And I didn't mind going back to like the main character thing. I didn't mind the main character, but I enjoyed the world way much more.
But he's not necessarily the full draw of what makes this show engaging to watch.
No,
experience.
It's so much more the world to me. The last Crunchy Award,
the most prestigious
award of the night, Best Anime of the Season. We've ranked all the anime, and let me see if I can pull it up here. We ranked all the anime on a list, S's through F, all the anime that we've seen throughout the whole season. And there can only be one. There can only be one best anime of the season. So one that surpasses all the others, one that is hitting on all cylinders. And I think this anime is it. I think this is it. It's really just, it's so much of everything. It's so much everything.
As we always talk about with our rankings, we do them based on animation, storytelling, and vibes. Just this one was the complete package, but it just had something to it that just really pushed it over the top that you can't really quantify. It is really just something that everybody has to experience for themselves, because what I got out of it and what Jules got out of it could be two completely different things. But I know that everybody's walking away from this show feeling something. And again, like we said before, it'll take something from you, but it's gonna give something back in return. You're not gonna be the same person after the credits roll.
Yeah, it's kind of, I'm trying to think of like an analogy here. Like, I have a bowl full of cereal, just cereal, and that's me, and it's full to the top. But then they take away some, and then they pour in milk, and I'm lost. Some of my cornflakes are gone.
But now there's milk in my bowl.
But now I have cereal.
Yeah,
gonna sit on that. I try to think of something that could.
I see where you're going with it. Again, it's like it fundamentally for me it fundamentally just changed my viewpoints of the world in ways that, like, again, I can't quantify it. It just happened, and it happened without me realizing what was going on. And by the time those final credits rolled, I was just sitting there. I turned the TV off and I just sat there in silence because I was just like, I felt myself change. I was like, I am not the same person anymore.
I am not
And
okay.
everybody can say that week to week, but again, it's unquantifiable with this one, and you just have to experience it for what it is.
So the winner of best anime of the season is once again
Repeats.
Erased, taking another one. It's just a fantastic anime. There's so much, and like you can't even like explain it to somebody. Like I don't even want to try to explain it to somebody because I think it won't even one do it justice, but then one
Correct.
won't even hit on what exactly it is that I liked about it.
Exactly.
I can explain the story to you and I can explain what happens, but truly it's just an experience and I really enjoyed it. I think it won 3 of our awards here, the most engaging story, most compelling voice acting, and best anime of the season. So this is just the one to pick if you're not going to watch any of the other anime that we watched this season. I think Erased is a solid pick for the one to watch.
It'll be one of my top recommends for anybody that wants to get into anime or that is an anime, wants to try something different, but prefers something that's story first. I don't want action. I don't want these crazy superpowers and stuff like that. I just want a really good story.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to watch a story unfold. Watch Erased.
So
Watch
good.
Erased.
That is the Crunchy Award. Thank you so much for watching. We dubbed a lot of winners tonight. So that is the official end of season 2. Now, going forward into season 3, you know the drill. We're going to continue to do what we've done. A lot of these anime are picked from either me or Matt or you, the viewer. So the way to add anime to the chest is submitting 500 bits on Twitch or a $5 super chat on YouTube. And these are the animes that can be picked. So the first anime that we're going to watch for season 3, Matt has the magical chest there. We have all of the anime in the chest. He's going to pick one. First anime.
Nier Automata.
Woo! That's
Submitted
me.
by Jules.
Hell yeah. Nier Automata. Automata. I haven't finished it. I watched like 1 or 2 episodes. And then stopped because it was coming out week to week and I was like, fuck this. I'm not waiting. What the hell? And then I forgot and I was like, oh shit, I can't keep up with this. What's up, Claire? Matt has a magical chest like a magical girl. Matt's a magical girl confirmed in season 2.
Heck yeah. I'll
Um,
be a magical girl in any universe that's not Puella Madoka Magica.
we didn't get a lot of magical girls. Can some
No
people
magical
submit?
girls this season. Our Sarazan Mai was our close to, that's as close as we got to magical girls.
Yeah, that's true.
Sarazan Mai.
Sounds on my was a good one. I'm trying to no other ones were magical girl-esque. I know that's a genre. Can we get some magical girls? I do like me some magical girls. But Nier Automata, watch the first 4 episodes of the new Nier Automata show that just came out 2 years ago. Came out around the same time as Trigun. Go to watch the first 4 episodes before next week. This is kind of like if this is your first time, it's kind of like a book club where we watch anime together. Come here to talk about it. Leave your thoughts. We talk about, you get our thoughts and everything. But Matt, where can they find you on the internet when you're not here crunching those awards?
You can follow me on my socials, on Threads and Instagram at @Matt_Galley, or you can follow me on my YouTube at Matt_Galley. Those are the places where you can find me at if you want to find me outside of the podcast. Jules, when we're not here, where can the people find you crunching the awards?
At JulesTheHuman, at JulesTheHuman on all social media. I've been posting on Threads a bunch. Haven't posted on Twitter. Don't really care. Instagram, I post a bunch of pictures and stuff or stories. You can also find this show on Spotify if you are a Spotify listener or YouTube music enjoyer or any other podcast. You can find us there. You can watch the video. If the video is there, if the video or if the platform supports it, the video will be there. So on Spotify, you can watch either in the car, on the way to the gym, or whatever. But you can also follow the Anime Hour Pod YouTube channel just by itself, where we post the podcast there if you don't want to watch them live or you want to watch them later. But yeah, that's the end of season 2. Hope you agree with all of our choices. If you don't, let us know in the comments. But watch a lot of really good anime. I think it was a lot of fun.
It's a lot of good stuff, and I can't wait to watch more.
All right.
That's all there is to it.
Bye.